Ever feel drained, even when you're surrounded by people who claim to care? You've got friends, family, colleagues, but something's missing. You're constantly in motion, constantly engaging, and yet your energy is slipping away. Your focus is scattered, and you're losing touch with your true self. What if I told you it's not your fault? The truth is, you're simply not meant to be surrounded by too many people. This isn't about being antisocial or rejecting human connection. It's about a deeper truth, a truth that most men will never realize. Machiavelli, the master of power and strategy, knew it well. In order to rise above the masses and claim your own destiny, you must strategically isolate yourself. The idea that being surrounded by others is the path to success is a myth. It's a trap in a world that glorifies social interaction and constant networking. You're led to believe that more connections equals more success. But what if the opposite is true? What if stepping away from the crowd is the only way to truly find your power? The hidden truth is simple yet profound. Isolation, when done right, is not a weakness, it's a strategic advantage. And I'm about to show you why it's the key to unlocking the life you deserve. So let's break down the myth that keeps so many men trapped: this false belief that more people means more progress. What if I told you that chasing the crowd is the quickest way to lose your edge? In today's world, it's almost as if success is synonymous with socializing. You've been told that the secret to rising above is constantly being around people, networking, attending events, hustling in groups, and staying in the know. The more connections you have, the more successful you're supposed to be. If you're not out there making moves, meeting new faces, and appearing busy, then you're falling behind. This belief is so deeply ingrained in modern culture that most men accept it without question. After all, it's easy to be caught up in the hustle, the endless meetings, the endless social media updates, a never-ending cycle of events where everyone's trying to make an impression. You've probably heard it 1,000 times. It's all about who you know. But here's the truth: this myth is not the path to true success. In fact, it's the path to exhaustion, confusion, and ultimately mediocrity. The constant need for external validation, for being constantly in motion, only serves to keep you distracted from what truly matters: your own vision, your own purpose, and your own growth. The crowd is noisy, and it's easy to lose yourself in that noise. Sure, social connections are important, but quantity of connections isn't what makes you powerful. In fact, being constantly surrounded by people can dilute your focus and cloud your judgment. It distracts you from your deeper potential, pulling you away from the solitude needed for clarity and true strength. So, if networking and constant socializing aren't the keys to success, then what is? Let's take a look at what the great minds, like Machiavelli, had to say about achieving power and success, not through the crowd, but by mastering solitude. Machiavelli wasn't afraid to call out the truth most men won't accept. True power comes from controlling your own mind, not being consumed by the crowd. He understood something that most people still don't grasp: the key to mastery, both in power and life, lies not in seeking validation or drowning in constant social noise, but in strategic isolation. In his seminal work, The Prince, Machiavelli laid out a blueprint for rulers who sought to maintain control and power. His advice was simple, yet profound: distance yourself from the masses. Why? Because when you're constantly surrounded by others, whether in politics, business, or daily life, you lose the clarity necessary to make important decisions. The crowd will pull you in different directions, all demanding your attention, and soon you'll find yourself reacting instead of acting. Machiavelli believed that rulers who isolate themselves from the distractions of the people can think more clearly, plan more effectively, and avoid being swayed by fleeting emotions or public opinion. This doesn't mean ignoring people or rejecting social interaction altogether. It means controlling your environment and your associations. Powerful men and women understand that the people they surround themselves with must align with their purpose and vision. They're strategic, selective, and deliberate about who gets access to their time and attention. This allows them to preserve their mental energy, remain focused, and build their empire in peace. The masses, on the other hand, get lost in the noise. distracted by the latest trends, and pulled in 1,000 different directions by superficial desires, while the masses hustle and distract themselves with empty noise. Those who understand Machiavelli's lessons rise above it all. They know that success comes not from being in the middle of the chaos, but from standing outside of it, observing, analyzing, and making decisions with a clear, undistracted mind. So, what happens when you embrace the power of solitude? What hidden truth do most men miss by staying wrapped up in the distractions of the crowd? Let's explore the deeper, often uncomfortable truth behind why solitude is not just a necessity, it's a strategic advantage. The truth is, the most powerful men in history were often alone. It's not isolation that weakens you. It's the constant bombardment of distractions that drains your power. Think about it, some of the most influential figures in history, from philosophers like Nietzsche to leaders like Churchill, spent large portions of their lives in solitude. They understood something most people never will. In isolation, there is strength. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with external noise, social media, news, opinions, and pressures from people who may not even have a clear idea of what they truly want in life. And yet, the high-caliber individual, the one who rises above mediocrity, understands the profound power of being alone. This isn't about shutting yourself off from the world entirely. It's about creating the space to think deeply, reflect on your actions, and act with clarity. Isolation forces you to face yourself. When you're not constantly reacting to external influences, you are given the opportunity to go inward. This practice of reflection strengthens your focus, fortifies your purpose, and allows for a deeper understanding of who you truly are, what you truly want, and how you can achieve it. It's in solitude that your greatest ideas are born, that your deepest insights emerge. Philosophically, this idea isn't new. Socrates, arguably the most famous philosopher to ever walk the earth, spent much of his life alone, questioning, thinking, observing. He understood that without solitude, you cannot arrive at the truth. The mind, when unchallenged by external forces, can produce ideas and breakthroughs that are otherwise impossible in a crowded, noisy environment. Psychological studies back this up as well. Research has shown that our best ideas often come when we're alone or in minimal social interaction. In a study conducted by the University of Virginia, participants were asked to sit alone in a room with no distractions, and they were given the option to entertain themselves with a mild electric shock. It turns out, many people couldn't stand the idea of being alone with their thoughts, even for a few minutes. The discomfort they felt from solitude was too much to bear. This reveals a deep truth. We're so used to the noise and distractions, we've forgotten how to be with ourselves. This fear of silence, however, is exactly why solitude is such a rare and valuable skill. The most successful people throughout history weren't afraid to embrace it. Leonardo da Vinci, one of the most accomplished polymaths to ever live, frequently retreated into solitude for weeks at a time, using the time to think, experiment, and refine his work. He wasn't afraid of being alone because he understood that greatness is birthed from the quiet, not the crowd. While the world celebrates constant socializing and networking, the true achievers understood that clarity comes from silence, and strength is forged in solitude. You've been told that to be successful, you need to be surrounded by people. But the truth is that people who shape the world often do so in silence, in the moments when they are alone with their thoughts, shaping their destiny. But here's the catch. While isolation offers immense benefits, it's easy to fall into the trap of distraction, even in solitude. The question is, how do you use solitude to fuel your success, instead of retreating into isolation as an escape? Let's dive into how you can begin to turn this knowledge into real power. In today's world, it's easy to get lost in the noise. The constant stream of social media updates, the endless notifications, the pressure to attend networking events, and the fear of missing out. All of it creates an environment where focus and mental clarity have become increasingly rare commodities. We're living in an age where distractions are not just everywhere, they're designed to keep you distracted. The worst part? We're led to believe that staying plugged into the chaos is the path to success. But the truth is, the constant bombardment of outside stimuli is eroding something far more valuable: your personal identity. When you're constantly reacting to the demands of others, you lose the ability to respond from a place of clarity. You're pulled in 1,000 different directions by external influences, whether it's the opinions of others or the need to keep up with the latest trends. This leaves you living in a perpetual state of reaction, never truly in control of your own life. And when your life is shaped by external forces, you're no longer living for yourself. You're living for the validation of the crowd, but it doesn't have to be this way. There are men who have learned to rise above the noise and use solitude to their advantage. One prime example is Elon Musk, a man who's revolutionized industries and built a legacy. Musk, despite being at the forefront of the tech world, is known for his ability to retreat into solitude, to think deeply and plan strategically. He famously said that solitude is the key to solving complex problems, and that it allows him to clear his mind and make decisions that others might miss in the rush to stay connected. Another example is Warren Buffett, one of the richest and most successful investors in history. Buffett is known for spending large amounts of time in isolation, reading, reflecting, and thinking without interruption. He said, "The best thing you can do is sit quietly and think." It's an undervalued activity in a world that's constantly trying to pull you in every direction. These men understand that true power comes not from being surrounded by others, but from having the space to think, reflect, and act with purpose. You can either keep chasing the validation of the masses or start walking the path of real power by controlling your solitude. The choice is yours. Live reactively in the noise, or rise above it with the clarity of a man who knows his purpose. But what happens when you don't master solitude? What traps lie in wait for men who fall into the social trap? Let's explore how easy it is to lose yourself in the chaos, and what the consequences are for failing to control your environment. Here's where most men get it wrong. They believe that the more people they know, the more successful they'll be. They're constantly chasing the next connection, the next approval, the next social interaction. The belief is simple: the more you network, the more you'll achieve. But what they don't realize is they're drowning in their own distractions. Chasing external validation is the fastest way to lose your true self. The trap is subtle. It starts with the small compromises: skipping your personal time to attend yet another networking event, overcommitting to social obligations at the expense of your own goals, or constantly checking your phone to stay in the loop. At first, it feels like a harmless act, a small trade-off for success. But eventually, the noise becomes overwhelming. Before you know it, you've become a prisoner to other people's expectations. Your schedule is no longer yours. It's dictated by the demands of others. Your decisions are no longer based on your own desires, but on what others think is best for you. You might be surrounded by people, but you're no closer to achieving your personal goals. Worse yet, you've lost sight of those goals entirely. This is the psychological toll of chasing approval: stress, anxiety, and a growing sense of emptiness. When you're constantly seeking the approval of others, you never have time to develop your own sense of purpose or identity. You're constantly reacting to what's outside of you, rather than what's within you. And this leads to unfulfilling relationships, where you're either trying too hard to please others or sacrificing your own happiness in the process. The worst part? The cycle feeds itself. The more you chase external validation, the more detached you become from your true self. And the further you get from who you really are, the more lost you feel. Your achievements start to feel hollow, and your relationships feel shallow. The trap is real, and most men are caught in it. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can choose to break free from this cycle of distraction and reinvest in your true self. So, how do you break free from this trap? How do you begin forging a new path, one that's not dictated by the crowd? Let's explore the path to power, where your true strength is found, not in the opinions of others, but in the mastery of your own mind and environment. If you truly want to master your life, you need to start embracing the one thing you've been running from: solitude. It's not enough to simply recognize the value of being alone. You must actively seek it out, create it, and protect it in your daily life. Solitude is where power is cultivated. It's where decisions are made with clarity, where your mind can breathe freely without the constant clutter of external influences. But to reclaim this power, you need to make it a deliberate practice. First, you must begin by carving out intentional alone time. This isn't about being antisocial or retreating from the world entirely. It's about giving yourself the space to think, reflect, and act without the interference of outside distractions. Set aside time each day where you are alone, where you are not checking your phone, not listening to podcasts, and not involved in a social situation. Even if it's just 30 minutes a day, make this a non-negotiable commitment. For some, meditation is the perfect tool for embracing solitude. The practice of meditation allows you to silence the noise of the outside world and bring your focus inward. This practice sharpens your ability to control your thoughts, cultivate mental clarity, and stay grounded in your purpose. By training your mind to quiet itself, you're training it to make better decisions in high-pressure situations. Meditation doesn't just calm your mind, it strengthens your ability to think critically and act decisively, which is the cornerstone of any powerful man. For others, solitude can come in the form of pursuing solitary hobbies, whether it's reading, writing, working out, or engaging in a creative pursuit. These activities offer the same benefit. They give you space to focus solely on your own thoughts, your own progress, and your own growth. When you're engaged in an activity where your full attention is required, you're forced to drop all distractions and focus on what truly matters to you. This is an empowering experience. The more you embrace these moments of solitude, the clearer your mind becomes, and the more confident you become in your decisions. Beyond that, you need to filter out the distractions of modern life. Unfollow people on social media who drain your energy. Decline invitations to events that don't align with your goals or values. Avoid relationships that pull you off course. Be selective about the energy you allow into your life, because every social interaction, every moment spent in noise, is a moment you could be using to strengthen your mental clarity. The people and things you allow into your world will either help you rise or pull you back into mediocrity. Solitude leads to clarity. And clarity leads to stronger, more effective decision-making. When your mind is free from the clutter of distractions, you can think strategically, make bold choices, and move forward with unwavering confidence. Solitude doesn't just give you time, it gives you control. And with control comes true inner strength. The masses will continue to waste their lives chasing noise and distractions, drowning in the constant chatter. But those who learn the power of isolation will rise above. They will make decisions that others can't, see opportunities that others miss, and forge their own path to success. Now that you've seen the path to power through solitude, it's time to wrap up. Let's dive into the final thoughts on how you can reclaim your true strength and start building a life that's truly your own. The world will never stop distracting you. It will continue to bombard you with notifications, pressures, and expectations. But if you can learn to embrace solitude, you'll find a power that most men will never understand. The truth is, true strength comes from being able to step away from the noise, to create the mental space for clarity, and to make decisions with purpose. Let's recap. The myth told you that success comes from being constantly surrounded by people, from networking and seeking approval. The reality is, that's exactly what holds you back. The hidden truth? Power is found in solitude. It's not about avoiding others or becoming antisocial. It's about intentionally carving out time for yourself, so you can think deeply, plan strategically, and act decisively. Now, it's time to take action. Start today. Set clear boundaries with the people in your life. Prioritize time alone each day, whether through meditation, a solitary hobby, or simply turning off the noise. Reassess the relationships and activities that drain your energy and focus, and make space for the things that strengthen your mind and purpose. Remember, this path separates the achievers from the average man. Most will never even realize this truth. But you have the power to break free from the cycle of distraction and walk the path of true self-mastery. Take the first step now. Embrace solitude for the next week and observe how it transforms your focus, your decision-making, and your results. The choice is yours. Take control. Start your journey today. Embrace the solitude that fuels your power. Comment below with your first step and let us know how it's shaping your path.